Hey, what's up, guys? Machine King here, and welcome back to the next episode of Deck Profile. In today's episode, we will be going over a casual deck of mine. This is a fun deck that I like to use. It's an older deck that I've used. It was actually created by my brother as a Christmas gift for me. So, and that deck is Sacred Beasts. Yes, I am a GX fan. So, the Sacred Beast deck with the structure deck that came out a few years ago, me and my brother both constructed a very decent Sacred Beast deck for me to use. All about spamming at the Sacred Beast and, as you'll see later, some certain plays that I make if the actual Sacred Beast don't end up working out. So with that said, let us go over the archetypal monsters in our first group. And of course, we have our archetypal monsters, which include 2 Raviel, Lord of Phantasms, 2 Hama, Lord of Striking Thunder, and 1 Uriah, Lord of Shearing Flames. The one thing you notice about this deck is, first off, Uriah is really only here for XZs and fusion plays. Anytime I've used this deck, I have very rarely ever actually used Uriah I've never actually used Uriah for his effect or actually to win a duel. It's always been Hama or Raviel. But just so we'll go over, Uriah cannot be normal or special summoned. Cannot be normal summoned / set. Must be special summoned from your hand by sending 3 face-up traps you control to the graveyard. This card gains 1,000 for each continuous trap in your graveyard. Once per turn, you could target 1 set, spell, or trap in your opponent. Excuse me. I'm so sorry. Once per turn, you could target one set, spell, or trap card your opponent controls and destroy that. Neither play can activate spell or trap cards in response to this effect activation. So, very generic popping effect. Can destroy back row. But as I said, I've never actually used Uriah's abilities. Now, Hama, on the other hand, I have used Hama quite a bit. Actually, Hama is probably my go-to monster. The go-to one I want to get out. So, Hama, Lord of Striking Thunder, cannot be normal summon / set. Must be special summoned from your hand by sending 3 continuous spells you control to the graveyard. If this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, inflict 1,000 damage to your opponent. While this card is in face-up defense position, monsters your opponent controls cannot target monsters for attack except this one. It is a redirect, and it guarantees you at least 1,000 attack. Plus, if you're attacking a monster in attack position, you also gain the damage you would normally get. So you get the damage, then an extra 1,000. Hama is the best of the 3, in my opinion, of the best of the Sacred Beasts. And then, of course, we have Raviel, Lord of Phantasms. Cannot be normal summoned. Must be special summoned by attributing 3 fiend monsters. Each time your opponent normal summons a monster, special summon 1 phantasm token, a fiend / dark, level 1, 1,000 attack and 1,000 defense. But it cannot declare an attack. Once per turn, you contribute 1 monster. This card gains attack equal to the attributed monster's original attack at the end of the turn. So, this card is amazing for many reasons, but the biggest reason is, of course, the token spammer, and which allows you to tribute that said token to gain an extra 1,000 attack. Really good. Like I said, not as good as Hama's in my opinion, but Raviel is still a really close second. Plus, both Hama and Raviel both have 4,000 attack and defense, so they also make good beat sticks. Not much is going to be able to beat over that. But of course, those are just the boss monsters. Then you have Raviel, Lord of Phantasm, Cimmerian Scalper. Just helps you summon Raviel and all that. Then you got Dark Summoning Beast, Dark Beckoning Beast, Dark Summoning Beast, and... Alright, sorry. My apologies. Dark Beckoning Beast, Chaos Summoning Beast, and Dark Summoning Beast. So, these three were the newer, when the structure deck came out. This is what came in the structure deck to help support Sacred Beast. Dark Beckoning Beast allows you to grab a Sacred Beast from your deck to your hand. Dark Summoning Beast lets you summon one from the deck. And Chaos Summoning Beast tributes itself so you can summon one from the hand. And of course, they all have secondary effects. So, let's go over. Besides the effect that I've already said, Dark Beckoning Beast also, I can also special summon a fiend, one fiend monster with 0 attack and defense this turn. In addition to my normal summoner set. I can only use this effect once per turn. So I can summon any other one of these monsters for free using Dark Beckoning Beast. Chaos Summoning Beast allows you to banish this and grab a Fallen Paradise, which is one of the field spells that the Sacred Beasts get. I'll go over what that does later. And Dark Summoning Beast. You can banish this card from your graveyard and add one Uriah, Hama, or Raviel from your deck to your hand. So all three of these play a pivotal point in either getting the Sacred Beast to your hand or summoning them. They are all really consistent, and because they all have the same stat line, they all work for each other. And then, of course, some newer support, Phantasmal Summoning Beast, which is easy to summon because of its stat line. You contribute this card and add one Uriah and one Sacred Beast from your deck or graveyard to your hand. Then you can special summon one level 10 Pyro Thunder Fiend monster from your hand whose attack equals its own defense, ignoring its summoning conditions, but it cannot attack directly this turn. You can banish this one from your graveyard and get one Dimensional Fusion Destruction from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect. So this one is your fusion spell searcher, and it also allows you to get gets you the Sacred Beast from your graveyard or deck to your hand, and then you can special summon it, ignoring its summoning conditions. So with that being said, that is all the archetypal monsters for this deck. It's a pretty standard loadout for a Sacred Beast deck. The next one is your non-archetypal monsters, which is very easy. There's just 2 Ash Blossoms in this deck. Nothing too much. At the time of making this deck, Ash Blossom was just starting to pick up, so I never really changed it over to having more than 2. If I ever did redo the deck, I'd probably add a 3rd Ash Blossom in there. But as it stands, 2 Ash Blossoms. Excuse me. Next up is your archetypal spell and trap support. So first up, you got Cerulean Skyfire, which is Haman's character card, I guess you want to say. It's his attack card from the anime. His attack, Cerulean Skyfire. To special summon Haman, Lord of Striking Thunder, using its own procedure. You can also use face down spells you control. Once per turn, while you control an attack position, Haman, Lord of Striking Thunder. I'm so sorry. Once per turn, where you hit a Haman, Lord of Striking Thunder, you can negate any spell or trap activated by your opponents. Then change it to defense position. If face up Uriah If a face-up Sacred Beast you control leaves the field, you take no damage this turn. Really good protection, and it's really good for facilitating the summoning condition out. Really able to use those face-down spells is really good. Next up, you got your one of the best openings in the deck. Sorry. This is your starter opening of the Spirit Gates. Recently saw time on the limited list, but was removed because of the new Chaos Yubel stuff. Which, if I ever do rebuild this deck, I will be adding a single copy. We'll be adding some of the Yubel stuff, mostly because its stat line works very well. But opening of the Spirit Gates, when this card is activated, I can add one Sacred Beast or a card that mentions that, a monster that mentions that, from my deck to my hand. I can then discard one card and special summon one Fiend monster with 0 attack and defense from my graveyard. Once per turn, if I control a level 10 monster, you can add one continuous spell from your graveyard to your hand. So, like I said, it's a really good extender, starter, and and it also allows you to search continuous spells. So it allows you to do a lot of things. So it's no wonder why this card saw time on the limited list. It's a great card for both Yubel and Sacred Beast. And then, of course, just like I mentioned earlier, we have the card Fallen Paradise, which is the card that Chaos Summoning Beast allows you to grab from the deck. So, Fallen Paradise, you cannot target any Sacred Beast or its fusion monster, Armitao the Chaos Phantom, in your monster zone with card effects. Also, those monsters cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects while you control them. If a Sacred Beast or Armitao is on your monster zone, you can draw 2 cards. You can only use this effect of Fallen Paradise once per turn. So, this is great. What this allows you to do is it gives you protection and extra draws for every turn you have a Sacred Beast on the field. Really, really, really good field spell. That draw power is really good for this deck. It allows you to get into your combo pieces very well and very easily by essentially giving you 3 draws per turn. Because you get your normal draw, and then you get the additional 2 draws. You get the additional 2 cards from your Fallen Paradise effect, which is really good. Then you got Dimensional Fusion Destruction. This is your fusion card, banishing them from the graveyard to summon Armitao. You got your Hyper Blaze, which is just basically, it does similar things to Cerulean Skyfire, but works for Uriah. And then, of course, finally, for the final archetypal trap card, we have Awakening of the Sacred Beast. Now, this card is really good depending on how many Sacred Beasts you have with different names on the field. So let's go over each effect. This card gains effect based on the number of Sacred Beasts you control with different names you control. If you control 1, each time your opponent normal special summons a monster, gain life points equal to the attack points of that monster. Really good for just in life points increasing. There have been times where I've been dueling people and I've gotten over 20,000 life points because during one turn they just keep summoning and they don't negate it because some people don't think about it. So they don't negate this, and then they just keep summoning while I got a Sacred Beast on the field, and I'm just gaining life points. And then by the time they do remember, I'm over 20,000 life points, and they can't take me out this turn. Number 2, if I have 2 with different names, I negate the activated effects of monsters your opponent controls. And then, of course, if I have 3, any monsters sent to my opponent's graveyard are banished. So, really good effects for extending the duel and just providing some protection and negation. So, with that, these are all the archetypal spell and trap support for my Sacred Beast deck. Like I said, pretty standard. The opening of the Spirit Gates, Like I said, saw time on the limited list because of the Yubel stuff. So now you got the non-archetypal spell and trap support. So first up, you have the second field spell of the deck, your Mound of the Bound Creator. Originally designed for the Egyptian God cards, but they do provide protection to level 10 monsters, so they provide great protection for the Sacred Beasts as well. You got 2 Mystical Space Typhoons, really good removal. Field Barrier helps you protect that field spell, any field spells. Terraforming allows you to search your said field spells. Owner Seals returns the control of all monsters to their original owner. So if my opponent takes control of one of my monsters, just use Owner's Seal. You got Reasoning and Set Rotation. And 1-for-1. Just really good generic support cards. And then you got Escape from the Dark Dimension. So Reasoning, what this allows you to do is your opponent declares a monster a level from 1 to 12. Excavate top cards of your decks until you excavate a monster that can be normal summoned or set. If that monster is the same level as the one declared by your opponents, send all the excavated cards to the graveyard. If not, special summon the excavated monster. Also, send the rest of the monsters cards to the grave. So, like I said, really good. You know, with most people, you know, if you're facing someone who knows the deck, obviously this card won't let you just summon anything, but it also helps you set up the graveyard. You know, you dump a bunch of your chaos, a bunch of the support into the graveyard, and they all mostly have graveyard effects that can go off and help you facilitate more combos. So either way, dumping cards into the graveyard, especially in this deck, really helps. Plus, if your opponent does get it wrong, you get that free summon too. So, really good card. Then, of course, you got Set Rotation. You can set 2 field spells with different names from your... Basically, you take 2 field spells with different names, so Mound of the Bound and Fallen Paradise, and then put them on each side of the field. And then neither player can activate or set other field spells. So it also blocks your opponent from setting their own field spells, which is really good for, again, cutting them off, because a lot of decks nowadays rely on a field spell. And then, of course, you got 1-for-1. Send 1 monster from your hand or graveyard, and then special summon 1 level 1 monster from your hand or deck. This deck runs a really good level 1, so really good to run in this deck. And then, of course, you got your Escape from the Different Dimension, which is, of course, is a really good trap. Target one of your banished dark monsters, special summon that target. When this card leaves the field, destroy that target. And if you do, banish it. When that target is destroyed, destroy this card. So, just really good for, like I said, for like Chaos Summoning Beasts. You know, they banish themselves to get Fallen Paradise. Really good just to get Fallen, Chaos Summoning Beasts back from the Banish Zone. So with that said, that is all the non-archetypal spell and trap support for Sacred Beasts. And that is all for the main deck. So now we move on to the extra deck. So we got 2 fusion monsters. We got 2 Phantasm and Emperor Trilog. And of course 2 Armityle the Chaos Phantom. So Armityle the Chaos Phantom, it requires a Uriah. It costs all 3 of the Sacred Beasts. You got to banish the above monsters, which is what Different Dimension Fusion allows you to do. And then, of course, you don't use Polymerization. And then this one cannot be destroyed by battle, and it gains 10,000 attacks during my turn only. So, really good for going in for that final push. You got your opponent on the ropes, and then you just whip out Armityle, and boom, you get that 10,000 beater, and just beat over him. And of course, it has limited protection with battle protection. Then you got Chaos Phantasmal Trojan. It requires 3 level 10 monsters, your Sacred Beasts. And if this card is special summoned, or if another monster is special summoned from the graveyard onto your field while you control this monster, you could target one face-up monster your opponent controls, inflict damage to your opponent equal to half of its original attack. You can only use this effect once per turn. So, really good for just inflicting extra effect damage to your opponent. Now, for the longest time, this was the only extra deck support I had in the deck, mostly because I very rarely ever used the extra deck. But as I got into more of the modern era, I realized that with the Sacred Beasts being able to spam themselves out and they're being level 10, it would allow me to go into some rank 10 plays. So, the first thing I did was I added a train package. So I added number 51, Super Dreadnought, the Rail Cannon Superdora, Gustav Max, and Juggernaut Levy. Let's go over each of them effects, of course. So, Gustav Max, of course, two level 10 monsters. Once per turn, you can detach one material to inflict 2,000 damage to your opponent. First time I did this, people went crazy because no one was expecting it. So this card, of course, is really good. It can help you finish off an opponent. You know, you do your turn, go to the battle phase. You know, your opponent's barely hanging on. Then you go to the second main phase, rank them up, build the overlay network, go into your Gustav Max, and finish it off with that final effect damage. Really, really good strategy. And then, of course, you got your other one, your number 81 Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Superdora. And then, of course, you got your once per turn, you can detach one material from this card, then target one face-up monster on the field. Target is unaffected by card effects except its own to the end of this turn. So, really good for giving your another monster on your field battle protection. So, well, just protection in general. So that's a really good card for giving protection. And then, of course, you got the boss monster of all trains, which is, of course, you will then overlay these. If you don't do the Juggernaut Levy or want to do the Gustav Max or Superdora strategies, of course, you summon either one of these two and then immediately rank up into your rank 11 Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Juggernaut Levy. Once per turn, you can also, like I said, rank up from a rank 10. Transfer its materials to this card. And then once per turn, you can detach one material from this card. It gains 2,000 attack and defense. And also for the rest of this turn, you could only declare an attack with this card. During each battle phase, this card can make an attack on monsters up to the number of materials it has. So not only does it gain you an attack boost, it also unfortunately it does limit you to only being able to attack with this monster, but with a 6,000 beat and being able to attack at least 2 turns, because you have at least 2 materials for this one, and of course itself as a material, transfer all that material to it, you have at least 2 extra attacks. It is a really good strategy for this deck because it just allows you to spam out their level 10s, rank into a rank 10, and then rank up into a rank 11. And of course, you go into Levy, and you get extra attacks to be able to finish your opponent off. Because not many monsters are going to be able to defend itself against a 6,000 attack point monster. Alright, and then the final 2 are just cards that I just threw in there. I haven't used them all too often, but they do see some niche play every once in a while. You got number XX Utopic Dark Infinity and Skyplace Gantry. Ganadary. Sorry, I'm probably mispronounced that. So, number XX Utopic Dark Infinity. 2 level 10 monsters. When an opponent destroys... When a monster is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can detach one material from this card, then target that monster. Special summon it to your field and defense position. You can target one other face-up monster, special summon your opponent controls. Gain life points equal to the original attack. You can only use... Yep. So, just like with Awakening of the Sacred Beast... Oh, sorry for the shaking camera. I keep hitting my charger. So just don't mind the shakiness of the camera. So just like with Waking of the Sacred Beast, gaining life points, summon this out, and then you just keep targeting special summon monster on your opponent's side and gain the life points. And then, of course, you got Skyplace Ganaduri. 2 level 10 monsters. You could detach 1 material from this card, then target 1 card your opponent controls, destroy that target. And if you do, inflict 1,000 damage to your opponent. You can only use this once per turn, and you cannot attack the turn you activate this effect. So, just like Gustav Max, if you don't want to go into a train, you could just do this during your second main phase, and that can finish off the duel for you. And with that, that is the extra deck. Not a full extra deck for this deck, but there's no need for it. Sacred Beast, the way I play Sacred Feast, very rarely, if they do at all, go into the extra deck. And with that, that is all for this video. So there you go. That is my Sacred Beast casual deck. As I said, it is just for fun. It does have a tendency to break at times, but with certain decks, it just doesn't matter how much I break with it. I enjoy playing with the deck. So, with all that said, make sure y'all like and subscribe, and give a thumbs up on the video if you enjoyed it. Make sure you comment down below what you think, and if you got any feedback for me on, maybe some modifications to the deck you would like, make sure y'all let me know, and I'll make sure to give you a shout out if I ever decide to, if I ever do make an updated deck profile video. I'll make sure to give you a shout out if you do. With all that, like I said, make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see all of you in the next video. Peace out, guys.